Okay, so here's the thing. I absolutely loved the first John Wick movie. Loved it. I think it's easily one of the greatest action movies of the last decade. But one of the reasons it worked so well was that it was a standalone movie, with this kind of tongue-in-cheek premise. It was sort of mocking how ridiculous action movie premises can be. I mean, let's be honest, he went on a killing spree because someone killed his dog. But by the end of that movie, the premise was done. It was finished. And it really didn't need a sequel because you couldn't possibly replicate the magic of the first movie. Too much hinged on that premise and that whole ridiculous idea. And the novelty had kind of worn off by the end of the first one. However, of course they still made a sequel. And I knew it wouldn't be as good, exactly because of the reasons I mentioned. And it wasn't. It did nothing as well or better than the first movie. Not the action, not the story, not the pacing. It was just worse on every level. And needless to say, I didn't really enjoy it. I thought it was pretty boring, to be honest. Nothing but a pale imitation of the original. Well, now Wick is back for a third round and yeah. If you haven't caught on already, this is not gonna be a positive review, because this one suffers the same exact issues as the second movie. I mean, visually, it's a cool looking movie. Very crisp and clean with a lot of saturated colors. And I don't mind the production design with all the little details here and there to make the world feel unique. And I will say that the fight choreography is creative and pretty fun. But one of the problems here is the story is severely lacking. I mean, John Wick's on the run, and almost the entire movie he's just running from one extended fight scene to another. And I really don't mind some cool action, but when there's a clearly staged fight scene, which serves no other purpose than to insert some action into the movie every 5 or 10 minutes, at some point I just start to zone out. It gets boring, because here's the issue. There's just nothing to get invested in here, nothing to grab onto. Nothing to make it feel like there's something at stake, or that there's an actual goal to be reached. It also doesn't help that by the end of this one, Wick's basically gone from being an admittedly exceptionally tough action hero to what amounts to nothing less than an indestructible superhero. Where's the tension in that? Why am I supposed to care about him going into yet another fight? When I know fully well that he can't be killed and he's just gonna leave a slew of bodies in his wake. No matter what the odds are against him or what he has to deal with. I know he's gonna be just fine, and that effectively removes any potential for me to care. Which is an issue with most superhero movies too. That's why they need to focus on character and the story for me to care, which some of them do. It can't all be action, because ultimately everyone's probably gonna be fine. But he's not even supposed to be a superhero, he's supposed to be a guy who's dealing with knives and bullets. A lot of knives and bullets. He's not like Batman or Superman either with their suits and gadgets. He's literally just a guy, and yet for some reason he keeps surviving more and more absurd situations. And they've got no choice but to keep ramping it up more and more. But part of the magic of the first movie was that he didn't feel indestructible. It felt like a guy going up against crazy odds and somehow coming out on top. But it sure doesn't feel like that anymore, especially by the end of this one. So there's just no tension to the action, it's just empty theatrics. But there's another issue too when it comes to the actual story here. John Wick's situation and the whole power balance in his world is pretty much the same at the end of the movie as it was in the beginning. There's really only one change that has any sort of significance, and it has very little to do with Wick himself. It's also only there to set up the next movie. It has no actual effect on this movie whatsoever. So what exactly was the point of going around killing countless people for 2 hours and 10 minutes? I have no idea, but it definitely didn't keep me very engaged past the intro sequence, which I did found to be sorta well put together with this ticking clock element. However, would I recommend this? Well, if you enjoy mindless action, absolutely, there's plenty of that in this. But if you actually want some character development and story in your movies, then no. So maybe give this one a look, or don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through the links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.